So apparently what happened yesterday was the 403 was blocked off on the way to Brantford because a big chunk of a bridge off of Wayne Gretzky Parkway landed on the highway. So yesterday was a bit of a shit show. There was a big, huge section of the bridge, chunk of concrete that was on the road. So we got to make sure that that's been cleared out, because that's actually our exit, Wayne Gretzky Parkway, for our first stop today. And I just kind of want to talk a little bit about what's going on with infrastructure. We all know that infrastructure is crumbling in a lot of places, and the government, various levels of the government, whether it's municipal, provincial, federal, they're talking a lot about investing in infrastructure and fixing the roads and bridges and all of that. However, we have a little bit of a problem, right? We have a financial problem, and it's very, very difficult right now to have funding for a lot of these large projects, right? Road building. And, this is why we talk a lot about creating housing density and utilizing existing infrastructure, our existing roads, our existing sewer systems and utilities, all that sort of stuff, instead of expanding further. Because I think we're entering into an era right now where just expanding infrastructure is just not feasible, right? From a financial perspective. If you look across the landscape of all of these cities, expanding roads and infrastructure, all of that is 100% correlated to resources and oil. And when these things were built back in mid-century, oil was probably, $5 a barrel, right? Even adjusted for inflation, it's a lot higher right now because of commodity scarcity. And this is something that this is a trend that's going to continue. Obviously there's going to be fluctuations. As we speak right now in May of 2022, oil is slightly more than $100. It's probably going to drop back a little bit, maybe $80. And then eventually it's just going to keep creating, new highs. And all of this infrastructure is built on oil, and we just cannot afford it, right? So from a financial perspective, we can't afford it. And then there's a lot of talk of ESG, right? Environmental concerns as well, and reducing consumption of fossil fuels. So it just makes a lot of sense that, instead of expanding and growing, we focus more on further redevelopment of what's existing. And creating density in existing residential areas makes a lot of sense, right? What we're doing with second suites, garden suites, small scale infill development, severing lots and building houses, missing middle housing, all of that is obviously there's going to be resources that are going to be put into that, but you're not expanding roads and you're not expanding sewer systems. You're just utilizing what's there. That's really the only way that's going to make sense, right? So if you're not familiar with Strong Towns, I highly recommend that you check them out. Strong Towns is an organization in the US where they really talk about developing cities and developing urban spaces and doing it in a way that's financially responsible from a grassroots level. And they've been involved in doing research on what the cost is to actually run a city. And if you look at across any city or town across North America, it's all the high density areas, typically the downtown cores, that are net positive from a financial perspective, whereas the low-rise suburban areas are actually negative. It's a liability on the city. So effectively, the high-density areas are subsidizing the low-density areas, these suburbs, right? So, what do? I mean, we're not going to tear these subdivisions or suburbs down, but we shouldn't really build more of them because it's just we can't afford it, quite frankly, right? It's just math at the end of the day. Thank you so much for watching our video. We have a brand new garden suite guide, how to add one to your property. You can download a copy right now for free if you go to www.suiteadditions.com. We cover a ton of stuff you need to know if you want to start building these to create more housing and wealth at the same time. There's also a list of resources that we've identified that you can use. Download your copy now for free at www.suiteadditions.com.